Hello, James.
Yeah, what's up, Patrick?
Hey, it's great, great to talk to you. I've been working for a while on trying to get an interview with you. I don't think I've worked this hard on nailing down one specific actor since Stephen Root was the last one. It's one of my all-time favorites.
Oh,
Um,
great. Dude, I've done 5 movies of Stephen Root. I just saw him. We were just working together in Vancouver like 3 weeks ago.
yeah,
Love him.
he's one of the all-time greats.
Yeah.
But so. My twin brother and I are recovering 24 addicts. We had a
Oh, okay.
big, big problem. It was a 12-step program. All took place in real time. We could only use the bathroom during commercial breaks, and it took precisely 7 minutes to get anywhere.
Yeah.
But then of course, I've seen The Departed hundreds of times. But when I first started doing interviews, one of the first and still one biggest I'll ever get was I got to interview Denzel Washington, and
Yeah.
he's been my acting idol since I was like 13. And the reason I mentioned that is, I mean, it was like a life-changing experience to speak to Denzel, but I bring that up because I'll never forget when I saw Flight in 2013, walking out of that press screening, and my brother and I turned to each other and said, you know, Denzel Washington and John Goodwin were in that movie and James Badgedale made the whole movie. And I have wanted to talk to you ever since then. Just been wowed by you as an actor, and I've noticed a pattern since then that anything you're in, you have a knack for being just the most interesting character in the movie, which is not the same as I wouldn't classify you as a scene stealer. Do you think of yourself as a scene stealer?
Denzel called me one that day.
Oh, did he?
Yeah. Yeah, in a very loving way.
Yeah.
He was fantastic with me. Yeah.
Well, the reason why I wouldn't call you a scene stealer is because to me, a scene stealer makes it all about them.
Yeah.
And I have never seen a performance from you where you're not putting the material and building that up uh, first and
Thank
like trying to make the scene about you.
Thank you. Thank you. I thank you for talking about Flight and Denzel, by the way, because that was like a very personal experience for me to go through that work and to do that work. And my mother died of cancer, and I I fought. I had something to say. I read that script and I had something to say, and I wanted to audition for that role, and they kept saying I was too old. They wanted to go younger. Bob wanted to go younger, and I had to fight and convince them to let me do one take of that scene in the audition. You know what I mean? Talk about a story for like a young actor, man. I wouldn't take no for an answer. They're like, you. They literally said to me, "You are wasting your time," and I said, "That's fine. Let me waste my time. If you're okay with me wasting your time for like 7 minutes, I'll audition for every other role in this movie. You just give me one take of this character." And that was an hour before the audition. I sat down with those pages for 1 hour. I went in and I just improv the whole fucking thing because I got something to say. And uh, Bob called me and he was like, "Hey man, we want you to come do this role in this movie." And Denzel. If you've ever worked with Denzel, Denzel works at the highest level. I mean, the level of preparation, it's talent meeting preparation, but also hard work and diligence. He was it's intense. It's a laser focus, and he's got massive range in what he's doing. And and he just turns to me, man, because I'm just like spitting it. And he looked at me and he just goes, "Man, scene stealer." He goes, "Why can't I get material like this? Look at this." And he was so, and he'd be like, "Hey, Batch, come here, come here, come here." He's like, "Okay, on this take, we're gonna do this right here. I want you to look at this eyeball right here." And he would get up right on the mat box, and he'd be like, "Okay, that was good, that was good. Okay, now this one." I mean, he loves acting. And that day with Kelly Riley and myself and Denzel, I don't think one of us dropped a line. It was a really intense, fun day of acting, you know, where you're really just sparring and you're going and you're listening and you're locked in and you're reacting and no one's thinking about themselves. They're giving, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm grateful for that one day, man. I lost 20 pounds for that one day of work, you know.
It, as an actor myself, it was that performance in that movie. It was electrifying and something that I'll never forget. So I just wanted to talk to you to tell you to thank you for that performance and tell you how great you were since 2012. So
Thank you.
thank you
Thank
for
you.
that.
Hey, man, glad we're
Uh,
here.
Me too. Before I'm gonna get to violent ends, of course, but I have to ask you one other question about an icon, which is, I mean, you've worked with. I'm also a director, and my idols, Steven Spielberg, Martin Scorsese, Bob Zemeckis, and Robert Redford are some of my big idols. Now, you've worked with all of those in some form, and you were in what I consider to be Redford's last great film as a director, which was The Conspirator, and we just lost him. I'm here in Utah. Big loss felt.
Mhm. Mhm.
What can you tell me about your experience working with Robert Redford?
You know, it's one of my favorite actors, one of my favorite actors ever, and you're being directed by one of your favorite actors, you know. There's this other thing that comes up, and it's like, not only are you trying to tell this story, but there's this part of you that really wants him, Redford, the actor, to be like, "You're good, kid. You're good." And I couldn't get him to say that. I couldn't get it. Like it was one of those movies. I was just struggling. I just was like, I'm a step. I just never quite figured it out. And finally, I just walked up to Bob, man, and I was like, "Hey, man, do me a favor. You just pat me on my back." And he goes, "Sure." Turns around, pop, pop, and I was like, "Thank you, man. Thank you. I got it." I loved him. He was so kind and generous, and he would be generous with his time. I'm, I'm gonna tell you a different Robert Redford story, you know, because
Okay.
that was the experience we had working together, and I had a great time with him, and he taught me some really important things, and especially like just as an actor, when
Uh-huh.
you're lost, just go back to the text. He was like, just go back to the text. He's like, when I'm lost, just take a step back, stop it, just say the words, just say the words, simple, you know, but that comes in preparation, you know what I mean? Like you got to do a lot of work on the outside to come to work to be able to be free, so you don't worry about it. But this was the most amazing. This Robert Redford story will sum it all up for you. I was auditioning for Lions for Lambs. Do you remember that?
Yes.
I had auditioned in New York with Avi Kaufman. She was like, "Hey, great, you got to fly to LA, you got to meet Bob Redford, Robert Redford." I'm driving to the studio. I'd had a little altercation in New York City. I showed up to LA with a black eye. My face was all banged up. And so I'm running to this audition, and I went into a makeup store, and I run in and I'm like, "Hey guys, can you cover this real quick?" And they're like, "What? This guy's crazy." I'm like, "Look, I'm an actor. I got this audition. I got to go meet Robert Redford right now." They're like, "Oh yeah, yeah." So they tried to like cover the black eye. I go to the audition. I come in the room. Here's Redford, casting, everybody. First thing out of everyone's mouth, they're like, "Do you do you have a do you have do you have a black eye right now?" And I was like, "Oh man, I got caught out," and I was like so embarrassed. And Robert Redford just goes, "No, no, no, guys, I don't. Who cares? Who cares about that? Let's do the scene." And we did the scene, and then we did it again, and then we did it again, and then he's like, "Hey, great. Um, where are you going? What are you doing?" And I was like, "Oh, I live in New York. I got to fly back to New York." And he goes, "I'll walk you to the parking lot." And he walks me out to the parking lot. and we're in the valley somewhere. And I'm sitting there and it's hot. And I'm like, what does Robert Redford want? And he goes, how's New York City? I want to know about New York City. What's it like for a young actor now? And we sat in the parking lot and talked for 10 minutes about New York and just being a young actor in New York. And he told me some stories and I told him some stories, and we shook hands and that was it. And that moment meant a lot to me. That moment I will carry, and he gave something to me, you know? And I think
Absolutely.
as actors, there's a history of giving to other actors, you know? And so I want to keep that thing alive.
Wow. That's incredible. You're getting me emotional. Thank you so much for
Yeah, me
sharing
too.
that.
Yeah.
Uh, so, with as far as Violent Ends, tell me a little bit about how this came about, what sold you on this character and this movie.
Well, I mean, John Michael Powell. It was his words. The script was really strong, and Sid just kind of came alive to me as I was reading it. You know, I remember just being in the living room and reading this thing at night. It was late at night. My first child, he was barely sleeping, and you know, and I'm reading this thing, and I was like, I want to do it. I want to do it. There's fun to bad guys. There's fun to be had, and I think that's the thing you got to remember is this is a genre movie. You know,
Yeah.
like yeah, it's a
Uh,
pretty violent, bloody movie, man. But we had a
um,
great time making it, and I just saw it in a theater, in a packed theater last week. Audience had a great time. You
uh,
know, it's it's an homage to a different era of filmmaking, and it's
yeah.
about having a good time in there.
It is. It's. I kind of see it. It's almost a Western to
Mm.
me, just in a modern setting and with drugs, but it has
Yeah,
that tone
yeah,
of a Western. But so Sid he's an intense villain. He's the kind of character that from the moment you see him, you know things are going to be bad. Part of that's, I mean, the hair. The
yeah.
movie's got the word violent in the title for crying out loud. You know things are going to get bad, but there's just a presence from the moment you come on screen. How do you establish that kind of presence while still staying grounded in reality?
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So, you know, it's a movie. You know, we're actors, we're magicians. There's a sleight of hand. You know, I mean,
Eh,
you talk about that haircut. That haircut was on purpose. You
yeah.
know, I wanted, you know, that. I wanted the ugliest, most horrifying haircut you could ever have, so that as an actor, I'm never worried about being horrifying. You know, I never have to worry about being too weird because the shot of the back of my head and that haircut does the work for me, you know. And you when we were doing Iron Man 3, and I'm working with Robert Downey Jr. and John Favreau, and Shane Black is directing, and Shane Black said to me, he was like, hey man, I went up to him and I was like, hey, was that too weird? And he goes, you can never be too weird. And you start realizing that, like, the tone of the film as an actor, you actually have to play up here. You know what I mean? It has to have this energy because the world, the filmmaking is going to do the job for you. And, you know, Violent Ends is the same thing. It's heightened, right? It's this
Right.
heightened world. And your question of how do you make that grounded? How do you make that grounded? I don't know if there's like we could talk about this for a long time
Yeah.
because sometimes you try to make it grounded and you fail. It's not 100% ratio. You know what I mean? It's like
Uh,
this is it's baseball. If you're batting at you know 30%, you're doing pretty good. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Did we get lucky? I don't know. I tend to think it's usually more in the talent of the filmmaker
Mhm.
than myself, you know? It's in the talent of the filmmaker and how they shoot it and what they do with it in the editing room.
Oh, well, it certainly worked. Are there any specific moments from this film, scenes that you're particularly proud of, or just things that stand out?
I mean, I'm proud of the whole film. I'm, you know, John Michael made it. That's our movie. This is the best possible version of the movie that we wanted to make. I'm blown away by Billy and Alexandra, their performances and
Mhm.
together and the chemistry that they had to bring that. I mean, talk about a grounded, loving energy. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
It's that's hard work. It's easier to be a bad guy. I think it's harder work to actually love someone on
Hmm.
camera, make that believable, to make that to have that like that spark of life. Whereas an audience, you go, oh, that's real. That's I want that. I want that in my life. I wish I looked at someone like that and someone else looked at me like that with that unconditional love and joy, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's I don't do many romantic comedies or anything. I'm terrible at it. It's hard to do.
Uh, really interesting insight. So you do, on that note, you've played a number of heavy roles. You've got just going back in stuff that's released this year. You've got this. You've got King Ivory coming up. So two violent drug trade movies. Um, you have a John Wayne Gacy series.
Yeah.
You've played a kind of an abusive father in The Senior, and then you've got The Savant, which I'm binge watching now. That's violent white supremacist hate groups.
Oh, you've seen it.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Cool.
So
Hope it gets yeah.
yeah, and I
Hmm.
leading up to that. But how do you how do you do all of these? Like some of these are dark, gloomy projects. For me, I tend to take the character with me and the project. I kind of live in it when I'm acting. How do you do stuff like this without taking that gloom with you? I mean, your first dark, gloomy role that you kind of had to inhabit for a time was in your teens with Lord of the Flies. How have you learned not to let that stick with you full time when you're inhabiting that role?
All right, man. We're doing some acting master class now. 'Cause that's a real question, and that's hard to do. And some people are good at it, some people are bad at it. I am guilty of taking work home with me. I always have been. You know, in the beginning, I leaned too far into that end of the spectrum. And I had to have some actors kind of come to me and be like, "Hey, man, you're gonna burn yourself out. You're just this is just unsustainable to keep doing what you're doing 12 to 14 hours a day." Um, and you know, when I went off to do the Pacific, my acting teacher Alice Spivak, who ran a little theater company here, and she's not with us anymore, but she was a huge instrumental part of my life. She knew what I did here. So she always took me and she was like, I'm not going to kill that side of you. I'm just going to train you to work differently. I want you to work on circumstances and story. I don't want you to work on the emotional side of this because I know this is too muddy for you and you believe the lies. That's part of our job, you know, to live truthfully under imaginary circumstances. I, I believe the lies and I like playing in the lies, you know, it's the truth to me. And she says to me, we sat down, we looked at the scripts, and she just goes, and this is a huge vote of confidence from an acting teacher. She goes, I don't need to work on this material with you because I know you can do it. I want you to break it down. I want you to your ideas, not my ideas, your ideas. The only thing I'm going to say to you is that you are not a Marine. You are not a Marine. And she just left that alone and like said, bye, have fun. I'll see you in a year. And I flew to Australia. And there's probably people on that job who said I was a little too leaning over here into the method world, but I was trying not to. I was trying not to. And that job took a toll on me, and it took a toll on everybody who was working there because we believed in it and we wanted to do this thing that had an importance. It was a culturally relevant story of real people, and it mattered, you know. And they create this environment that's actionable in 360 degrees, no matter where you look. It's happening right there, you know.
Mm.
So we all took something home with us, and the that has become easier over time. And I wish there was an easy, like a quicker fix for it, you know. Over time, I'm able to compartmentalize. Over time, I'm able to be like, okay, this is what it is here at work, and this is what it is here at home. And I know there's going to be demons. I know there's going to be voices. I know that, you know, we all, you know this, I know this. The day after you wrap is a pretty hard day. All the serotonin's dropping out. Your body, the depression will come, and it'll be there for a few weeks. Okay, hey man, welcome. You're here. You're back. Nice to see you again. You know what I mean? It's everyone is different. I can't tell someone how to handle their work and their mental health. But just remember, you are not a Marine.
Okay, thank you. And that project, to clarify, that you're referring to 13 hours,
Sorry.
correct?
My
That
wife, my wife trying to FaceTime me.
so okay.
Yeah.
To clarify, that was 13 hours that you were referring to.
No,
right?
that was the Pacific. That was
The Pacific. The Pacific. Yes,
yeah,
of course.
Yeah. By 13 hours, I'd already been blown up so many times. I wasn't. I was in a good mental space for 13 hours, actually.
Yeah, I think when you said 360, I just automatically assumed you were talking about Michael Bay. Um,
Yeah, that was 360 all the way too, man.
Yeah. So
everything was connected to some sort of C4 on that movie.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So The Savant, that great show. I'm lucky because I'm pressed. I get to see it, but of course I have to like keep my mouth kind of shut about it. Uh, what are your hopes for that? It's kind of in limbo right now as to when audiences are going to get to see it.
I still haven't seen it.
Really?
I can't wait to see it. I can't wait till the audience gets to see it. I think people are going to be very surprised by our story. I see the story as a very human story and a very relevant story and a very important story. And, you know, I'm a huge fan of Jessica Chastain. Like you talk about Denzel, Jessica's up there. You're talking about you are working with like an Olympic athlete of acting. There is the certain level that is, there's the intensity, there's the preparation, there's the talent. I mean, she can throw down, and you better be ready to keep up because this thing is gonna change every take and it's going to get better and morph, and she's looking for angles, and it's like high level fighting and sparring. I loved working with her. She's the real deal times 1,000. And you know, I can't wait till people get to see the show.
It's terrific. So talking about the Pacific and 13 hours or The Departed, I mean, whatever you do, you're always going to be, among other things, you're always going to be the guy who shot DiCaprio in the head and then got shot by Matt Damon. I mean,
Yeah.
it's one of the most iconic, surprising moments in movie history. But that leads, you've played a lot of law enforcement roles, a lot of soldiers, and even in violence, you worked a lot with firearms in films. What's that like? What's your philosophy as far as working with firearms on films? How do you approach that?
I was trained. I mean, we did the TV show 24.
Right.
Oh man, I hopped on. I mean, wow, that was 22 years ago.
Yeah,
Uh, Listen, like it was safely. You know,
yes,
we've been working with firearms in this industry and explosives for a long time. There are checks and balances in place. There are incredible professionals. Um, we you take a lot of care, and you have to be precise, and you have to be very careful. I'm comfortable doing it. Um, it's listen, it's a professional environment, and there's no room for error, and it's unacceptable. You know what I mean?
absolutely.
If you talk about what happened in the film industry a few years ago, it's absolutely unacceptable. That was a one in a million thing, but there was some people really, really, really dropped the ball, and
Absolutely.
it's just incredibly unfortunate. You know what I mean? Like we like the film community is a small community. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And listen, stunt work is dangerous. It's
Mm.
dangerous. Filmmaking can be dangerous. We go into difficult locations and we do difficult things, and we do them for long hours with a lot of how do I say this? Actually, no sleep. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it's you're asking a lot of people, an entire film crew. You know, so I love what we do, and I hope that we can all continue to do it safely and in a professional manner.
Well put. I gotta let you go now, but wow, thank you so much for your time.
Patrick, man, thank you. Anytime.
That was delightful. Uh, just been a delight. I got so much out of that. I'm gonna work with you one day. That's like on
Let's
my
do it.
bucket list.
Let's
We
do
will.
it. Let's do it.
All right.
And we can talk acting anytime, man. I
Uh,
love it.
thank you so much. Have a great day.
Awesome, Patrick. Be good, man.
You
All
too,
right.
James. Bye.
Bye.